Hi, I'm Tom Costanza, and I want to tell you what it feels like to have malaria. In 2002, I went to Africa for the first time, to Ghana. I spent a few days out in the field without a mosquito net. Even though I was taking malaria medicine, somehow within the next week, I still came down with malaria. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I can tell you it was the worst feeling I've ever experienced. I laid in my hotel room for the next several days, alternating chills and fever. At one point, I was so cold I had 3 pairs of pants on, which were all the pairs of pants I had with me. Covered myself up with all the blankets that were in the room and could not move except to go to the bathroom. Several hours later, I woke up again, sweating profusely, and that's one of the symptoms of malaria, these alternating chills and fever. Went on like this for about a day and a half. In between there, I had terrible diarrhea. I hadn't eaten or drank anything for several days, but still things were coming out of my body. I was starting to feel like my insides were liquefying. There was a certain point in there where I laid in bed and I literally prayed to God. I said, God, I don't want to die, but it's got to be preferable to this. I would alternate between these chills and fever for hours at a time. I'd pass out, I'd wake up, I'd pass out. I was all alone, imagine this, on my first trip to Africa. I did not know what I had. The staff would check on me periodically, and after a couple of days, I think they finally felt like I was still sick enough that I needed to go to the hospital. But the hospital was sort of an open-air hospital, and there were people laying out in the hallways, bleeding and moaning, and to be honest, I was more afraid of the hospital than I was of the disease, whatever it was I had. The doctor there diagnosed it as malaria and gave me a prescription for some quinine and some vitamins, which the staff did take me to a pharmacy to get. By that time, I felt like I was coming out of it, and eventually I did. In the next couple of days, I was able to go back to work. But let me tell you something about malaria. Malaria stays in your bloodstream for up to 50 years, so I still periodically get recurrences. My most recent one was just last year on a trip to India, where I got so sick I had to lay down in the car. And the reason I want to tell you this is because it really drove home to me what I had been seeing and capturing on my own pictures for years and not quite understanding. I laid in the car, flies were buzzing all around me, and I swatted them away from time to time, but eventually I became so weak that I didn't even have the energy to swat the flies away. And I thought to myself, I am so debilitated by this disease, what must it do to a child?